Have you ever wondered how these rich bastards who own your favorite club got so stinky rich? Did they inherit their fortune Nepo baby style? Did they perhaps work in finance? Or was it just good old-fashioned oil money? Well, that's what I'm going to break down for you today. And to make it a little bit more fun, we're going to start with the poorest billionaire and work our way up to the gazillionaires. And right now, I want you, no cheating, go ahead, write in the comments down below who you think is going to end up at the #1 spot. But before we get started, much like FIFA, I gotta pay some bills. If you're someone who can never find a mattress firm enough, then Plank is your answer. Endorsed by the American Chiropractic Association, Plank offers ultra-firm, flippable mattresses designed to promote a neutral spine position, improving back health and posture. Say goodbye to compromising between comfort and support and enjoy the best of both worlds with Plank. We all know how important sleep is now. Andrew Huberman can't shut the up about it. So when I recently moved and needed a new mattress, I knew that I would need something that not only would help me sleep better, but more importantly, is help relieve all this severe back pain that I've been having. From carrying so hard in Marvel Rivals, where are my goddamn heels, Tommy? So I got myself the Plank Firm Luxe, the firmest, flattest, and most supportive hybrid mattress they offer. I've been sleeping on the Plank mattress for 2 months now, and I love it. I instantly notice a difference. I feel incredible every time I wake up in the morning now, super refreshed. But my favorite feature of this mattress is their Glacio-Tex cooling technology. The cool fibers remove excess heat from your sleep surface, leaving you cool and comfortable all night long. And I always have ran hot. Sometimes I'll just wake up in sweats. Absolutely none of that since switching to Plank. And it's been a godsend because it allows me to actually sleep through the entirety of the night. Still not sold? Well, you don't have to be, because Plank offers you a 120-night sleep trial along with a limited lifetime warranty. And also, Plank mattress delivers right to your door. It just comes rolled up in a box, and it's super easy to set up yourself. And the best part of all this, Plank mattresses are designed, assembled, and shipped from their Arizona factory, which means they're able to use premium materials at reasonable prices with no middleman to bring up the cost. Oh, did I mention that they ship everywhere in America for free? And Plank offers 2 different options, the Plank Firm and the Plank Firm Luxe. Go for the Luxe if you prefer a firm mattress that contours to your body. This is a great option for people who like a more plush mattress. Or you can choose the Plank Firm if you're looking for the firmest mattress possible that isn't made out of wood. And what's sick is that both options feature a dual-sided design, allowing you to choose between a standard firm feel or flip it over for an ultra-firm experience, offering truly customizable sleep comfort. I love my Plank mattress, and I think you will too. So if you're looking for a new bed, check out plankmattress.com. If you click on the links in the doobly-doo, you will receive 30% off of your order if you use the code THATAsian. You deserve better sleep. You deserve better health. Thank you to Plank for sponsoring this video. Now, back to the show. And a little side note, there's gonna be terms like hedge funds and private equity, shit that if you're not a millionaire, you probably have no idea about because you don't have access to them. But just know, when they come up, I'll explain it then. Cool? All right, let's begin. Coming in at the #20 spot, the brokest billionaire in the Premier League is Brentford. Matthew Benham, the owner of Brentford FC, made his fortune through sports and gambling analytics. And he's been a Brentford supporter since he was a child. He got his teeth working in the financial sector and had multiple stints as a hedge fund manager in London. What is a hedge fund? Well, if you're a normal citizen like you and I, you do not have access to it. You have to be obscenely rich, either individually or be a part of an organization like a pension fund or a sovereign wealth fund like Saudi Arabia. Basically, you need to be one of the biggest high rollers on the planet to even get access to one of these things. What the super rich do is they give their money to these hedge funds and let them invest in what they ever see fit, pretty much, because they promise that they are either smart enough or they have algorithms that will allow them to beat the market and make a shit ton of money year upon year, no matter what the market does. If it goes up, it goes down, doesn't matter. The hedge funds will find alpha, which basically means they'll find profit even if the market is going down. Now, the 2008 financial crisis showed us that a lot of these hedge funds are full of shit, and that's kind of how they get their bad reputation. But typically, they are some of the most profitable alternative investment companies on the planet. But back to Matthew. He was exceptional at identifying deficiencies of the market and capitalizing on them, much like a hedge fund manager should do.
That's his job.
His talents got him noticed by a company called Star Lizard, which was a sports betting company founded by Tim Bloom, who would go on to own Brighton. More on him later. Matthew and Tony would strike up a mentor and protege relationship for a few years before they had a falling out. Once the two butted heads, Matthew decided to leave and start his own company, a rival sports betting company named Smart Odds in 2004. Smart Odds was a statistical research and sports analytics company that provided data models and betting strategies to sports bettors. They accomplished this by using advanced statistical models and algorithms to predict sports outcomes primarily football. These algorithms were enough to give him a healthy edge and made him extremely wealthy. He would then go on to buy Brentford in 2012 and use similar analytics in his scouting department, which allowed him to moneyball Brentford into becoming a giant killer of the Premier League on a very modest budget, as Benham is actually not a billionaire. In fact, his estimated worth is anywhere between 400 and 700 million. Coming in 19th place is Crystal Palace. Now, Crystal Palace is owned by a mixture of American and British businessmen, but the front-facing owner is longtime fan and British business owner Steve Parrish, and he has an amazing story. Born to a mechanic in South London, he left school at 16 to become a butcher's apprentice. He then went on to teach himself computer programming during the tech boom of the 80s, specifically specializing in graphic design. He would go on to found Tag Worldwide, which is not the watch company, but it was a marketing firm that he would turn into a global force with clients as big as Coca-Cola and BMW. He then goes and takes the millions that he makes from Tag Worldwide and saves Crystal Palace from liquidation. Yes, they were on the verge of bankruptcy twice, and he and 3 other businessmen in 2010 go and buy Crystal Palace for a single pound in 2010. It was a single pound because they also assumed the $30 million in debt that they needed to pay off. And once he purchased the club, he pulled himself a Jimmy Ratcliffe. He went in and cost cut like a motherfucker, ruthlessly. Famously, he sold all the toilets on the training ground to make a $25K profit. But here's the crazy thing, it worked. And with some savvy moves on the transfer market, building the team around Wilfried Zaha, Palace would return to the Premier League in only 3 years, 2013, and have stayed there comfortably ever since. Now, Steve Parrish is only estimated to be worth $80 to $100 million. Only. But in total, the Crystal Palace ownership is probably worth around $1 billion. Coming in at number 3 is West Ham, and they have my favorite owner on this list. That is David Sullivan. This dude fucking rules. For those who don't know, David Sullivan is a British businessman who made his fortune in the adult entertainment industry. He started with his partner David Gold selling pornographic pictures before expanding to sex shops, adult magazines, and making low-budget pornos. And this earned them the nickname the Dildo Brothers. It also made them millionaires by age 25. They were the OnlyFans before OnlyFans. By the late 70s, they controlled half of the adult magazine market in the UK and 80% of all mail-in adult orders. In 1982, David Sullivan was convicted of living off of the means of prostitution. Yes, you heard this right. David, my man, was convicted of being a pimp. But he did appeal and he won, so he's no longer a convicted pimp. But I know a pimp when I see one. 2010, him and Gold go ahead and purchase West Ham for £105 million. But sadly, David Gold passed away in 2023, making David Sullivan the de facto owner of West Ham. David Sullivan is estimated to be worth anywhere from $600 million to $1.2 billion. Not bad. Not bad for a pimp. Coming in at 16 is Southampton. Was recently purchased in 2022 by Serbian multimedia mogul Dragan Solak. What a badass name. Solak originally started out as a small TV cable operator in central Serbia, but he aggressively expanded his company so that it now dominates the Balkans, providing broadband, mobile, and TV services to 40 million people in 8 countries. Solak capitalized on the privatization and deregulation of telecom markets in Eastern Europe after the fall of communism. He is reportedly worth $1.22 billion. Coming in at 15th place is Bournemouth with Bill Foley. Born in Texas to a family of ranchers, he attended the United States Military Academy. There, while he was a cadet, he ended up making 40 grand in profit just trading stocks in his spare time. Upon graduating from the illustrious West Point, Foley was commissioned as a second lieutenant in the U.S. Air Force, where, during his career, he would negotiate multi-million-dollar contracts with Boeing. In 1974, he bought and revitalized a then-struggling title insurance company called Fidelity National Financial, and would go on to turn it into a multi-billion-dollar company. In 2016, he bought the NHL expansion team, the Las Vegas Golden Knights. He had to pay $500 million for them because of the expansion fee, but they would very quickly go on to win the Stanley Cup in 2023. 2022, him and a consortium went and bought Bournemouth for $120 million. And a fun fact about the consortium, you know who else is in there? You're never gonna guess. I didn't even know this. Fucking Killmonger. Michael B. Jordan is part of the consortium that owns Bournemouth. Yeah, fun fact. But anyway, Bill Foley is estimated to be worth $1.6 billion. Coming in next is Brighton with their owner, Tony Bloom, who's been a lifelong Brighton fan. In fact, it runs in his veins, apparently, as his grandfather was a vice chairman for the club back in the day. Tony's interesting. He made his name early on as a professional poker player, earning himself the nickname The Lizard with his cold and calculating playstyle. His most recent estimates put his poker winnings at around $4 million. He was then able to transition his mathematical mind into sports betting, forming the sports betting company Star Lizard. The company used advanced statistical models and data analytics to predict football match outcomes and advise high-stakes gamblers. It was here that he would bring on future Brentford owner Matthew Burnham as a quantitative analyst. Now, the details behind Star Lizard are highly guarded, but it is believed that they've been insanely successful over the years, amassing an obscene amount of winnings. He would go on to purchase Brighton in 2009 for £100 million, and he would then use similar sports algorithms on his scouting department. Sound familiar? In fact, it's believed now that it is one of the most sophisticated scouting programs in the world, helping Brighton raise themselves into the European ranks of the Premier League, much like Brentford, but with substantially deeper pockets. And they've been a lot more successful in the transfer market, and a lot more profitable. Tony Bloom is estimated to be worth anywhere from $1.3 to $1.8 billion. Next up is Nottingham Forest. They're owned by Evangelos Marinakis, a Greek shipping magnate. Now, Evangelos, he's the first real, I would say, nepo baby on this list. His father came from a wealthy family, but to be fair, that wealth was confiscated during World War II. But after Evangelos' father would open up a shipping company, which he would later pass down to his son. And Evangelos would take that relatively small fleet and turn it into one of the most successful maritime shipping companies on the planet. And what did he specialize in shipping that made him so rich? Yeah, you guessed it. Oil, baby. And every kind of oil that you can think of. Crude oil, gasoline, diesel, jet fuel, natural gas. If they could drill it out of the ground, Evangelos can ship it. His success allowed him to purchase his hometown club, Olympiacos, in 2010 for around 70 million euros. Although his tenure with the club has not been without controversy, as he has been the subject of multiple match-fixing scandals, and although he has been acquitted of all these charges, it is probably relevant to note that his family has deep ties with the Greek government, and one or two match-fixing scandals, sure, but this many? All I'm gonna say is, where there's smoke, there's probably fire. Allegedly. There was also the controversy that one of his ships was caught smuggling in a literal ton of heroin into Greece, although he was also acquitted of that. So yeah, he's a little bit of a shady character. Oh, and he purchased Nottingham Forest in 2017 for only $50 million. Pretty sweet deal. Marinakis is estimated to be worth anywhere from $1.5 to $2 billion. Next up, we have Leicester, whose late owner, whose name I'm not going to even attempt to pronounce, made his fortune through the King Power International Group, which is a major duty-free retail company in Thailand. Basically, those stores in the airport that say duty-free? They allow you to purchase a lot of goods without paying local tax, and that was the cornerstone of this man's fortune. It also didn't hurt that he had many ties with the Thai royal family. By many accounts, he is a beloved figure in Thailand, and of course, he's revered by the Leicester fans because he was the owner during their fairy tale run in 2016 in which they captured the Premier League. Sadly, he did end up passing away in 2018, tragically in a helicopter crash, with his son taking over the role of chairman at Leicester. At last estimate, his son is reportedly worth $3.5 billion.
Next up, and this might surprise some people, it's Liverpool. They, of course, are owned by Fenway Sports Group, a Boston-based sports investment firm, and the front-facing owner is American businessman John W. Henry. Born to soybean farmers, this man attended and dropped out of 4 different universities because he was too busy touring with a rock band at the time. After college, he studied agricultural markets and self-taught himself quantitative models that could predict price changes in the agricultural market. He would go on to start his own trading firm, the John W. Henry Company, I know, very original, specializing on betting on commodities, stocks, and currencies. He used algorithms to identify and exploit market inefficiencies, and throughout the 80s and 90s, he developed an absurd 30% on annual returns. At his peak, his company held $2.5 billion worth of assets. Then in 2012, he sold his firm to focus on sports. He founded Fenway Sports Group in 2001 and repurchased the Boston Red Sox for $380 million in 2002. In 2010, FSG acquired Liverpool for £300 million. And under his stewardship, they have won multiple titles, including the Champions League and the Premier League, and probably the Premier League this season. John W. Henry is estimated worth is $3.5 billion. Also worth mentioning that LeBron James is a partial owner of Liverpool. While he's only in the 2% range, it's actually been quite a good investment for him. He first bought into the club in 2011 for $6.5 million. That 2% has since grown to $32 million. So a snappy little investment for LeBron. Next up, we have Wolves with their Chinese owner, Guoquan Chang. He's the founder of Fosun International, which is basically a giant multinational corporation in China. He founded this company in 1992 with only $6,000 in investment capital. The company started as a market research firm, but quickly shifted into real estate and pharmaceutical investments. He blew up after Chinese healthcare reform demanded a lot more medicine. That allowed him to astutely expand into steel, which went hand in hand with China's growing real estate development market. But he would later expand to acquiring international brands like Club Med, French luxury brand La Vigne, and of course, Wolverhampton Wanderers. Now, his reign has not been without hiccups. Guo was briefly detained for questioning in China during a corruption probe in 2015, but he was released, and no charges were ever filed. Then his company Fosun came under fire in 2023, when reportedly they were $35 billion in debt. But as of now, he is still the owner of Wolves, and they've been pretty stable. I mean, most likely they're going to stay in the Premier League this year, even after a horrendous start. Well, his estimated worth is $5 to $7 billion, although this is heavily tied into the stock price of Fosun. Up next, we have Tottenham, with their primary owner being Joe Lewis. Joe was born in a pub in London. He would grow up and take over his father's West End catering business, which allowed him to accrue his first bit of wealth. He went on to start trading in currencies, moving himself to the Bahamas, which is, as we know, a tax haven. But where he truly made his fortune was a very famous bet, when in 1992, him and a man named George Soros bet against the British pound right before its epic collapse, on a day now dubbed Black Wednesday. It is rumored that Joe made over £1 billion in a single day of trading that day. He would go and take that money and invest in various sectors, including purchasing Tottenham Hotspur. I'd also like to note that he has been convicted of multiple charges of insider trading. Would you like to guess how much jail time he's had to spend for all these charges? 0. That is correct. He's too rich. Joe Lewis's estimated worth is $6.2 billion. Next up, we have Chelsea and their front-facing owner, Todd Roley-Boley. After Todd graduated college in the US, he felt listless, directionless. So, upon the advice of his favorite geometry teacher from high school, he went and studied at the London School of Economics. He would then go on to work at various financial firms, including Citibank, SC First Boston, and Guggenheim Partners. And at Guggenheim, he helped facilitate the purchase of the LA Dodgers. He would then leave to form his own group, Eldridge Industries, which is a private holdings company that invests in media, sports, real estate, and technology. You know that channel on YouTube, Vox, that's very left-leaning? Yeah, he owns that. And in 2021, he also became a minority owner of the LA Lakers. He's very LA focused. And famously, in 2022, he and Clear Lake Capital would go on to purchase Chelsea for £4.25 billion. Boley is said to be worth anywhere from $6 to $7 billion. Next up, we have Everton and their new owner, Dan Friedkin? It's not a real name. Danny Boy is a Nepo baby. His grandfather was the founder of the Pacific Southwest Airline Company, and his father founded Gulf State Toyota, which is the largest independent distributor of Toyota in the US. When Dan was 35, his father stepped down, naming Dan the CEO of both the Friedkin Group and Gulf States Toyota, which Dan would take and grow it into a company that has an annual income of over $1 billion. Dan would go on to purchase AS Roma for 600 million euros in 2020, and recently he purchased Everton for 400 million pounds. Dan's estimated worth $7.8 billion. All right, now we'll move on to Arsenal Football Club, who's very famously owned by Stan Kroenke. Kroenke married into wealth. Yeah, his wife is the heiress to the Walmart fortune. In 1983, he founded the Kroenke Group, a real estate development company that mainly focused on building large-scale shopping centers and apartment buildings, primarily near, you guessed it, Walmarts. He would grow his portfolio to amass over 1,200 properties, 200 million square feet, and the height with its value being over $2 billion. In 1999, he would go on to found Kroenke Sports and Entertainment, and then he would go on to purchase the Denver Nuggets and the Colorado Avalanche in 2000. In 2004, he purchased the MLS team, the Colorado Rapids, and in 2010, he purchased the then St. Louis Rams for a whopping $750 million. And in 2018, he purchased Arsenal for $1.8 billion. It is also funny to note that Stan has witnessed every single one of his major sports franchises win a championship, except Arsenal. Stan Kroenke's estimated worth is around $10 billion. Ipswich Town is up next, and despite what you have read, no, they are not indeed owned by Ed Sheeran. He did purchase a 1.4% share of the club in 2024, but the actual owners of the Tractor Boys are a company called Game Changers 20 Limited, which is a consortium consisting of various businessmen, including previous owner Marcus Evans, but 90% of Game Changer is owned by ORG, which is a pension fund for Arizona policemen and firefighters. What exactly is a pension fund? Short of it, it's where employees and employers of an organization regularly give money to an investment company who then invests that money into various assets like stocks, bonds, real estate, and private equity. And when they retire, they get a monthly stipend to support themselves in retirement. So if Ipswich go bankrupt, there's gonna be a lot of Arizona firemen and policemen that are fucked. Do they know this? I think we should tell them, because they should be rooting for Ipswich every Saturday. What's even crazier is this pension is apparently worth $13 billion. How rich are the policemen and firemen in Arizona? Next up, we have Fulham and their owner, Shahid Khan. Born to a middle-class family in Pakistan, he moved to America at the age of 16. He attended the University of Illinois, where he also began working for the automotive part manufacturing company Flexingate. We go on to purchase the company for $800,000 and then made his fortune with a huge innovation, a one-piece bumper designed
for trucks. Why was it innovative? It was just a lot more cost effective than traditional bumpers. The design became hugely popular, especially with Toyota, who became FlexenGate's biggest client. Shahid would rapidly expand the company, supplying bumpers and parts to most major car manufacturers worldwide. Today, FlexenGate generates over $8 billion in annual revenue. This allowed him to purchase the NFL team, the Jacksonville Jaguars, in 2011. He then purchased Fulham in 2013 for $200 million. And also a fun note, Shahid's son, Tony Khan, founded the pro wrestling promotion AEW, with Daddy being the main financial backer. Shahid is estimated to be worth over $13 billion. Next up, we have Aston Villa, who's primarily owned by two men, Nassef Sawiris and Wes Edens. Nassef is also actually one of the few Nepo babies on this list. He's the son of Ansi Sawiris, who's the founder of Orascom Group, one of the biggest corporations in Egypt, and they specialize in fertilizer and building materials. Nassef would go on and inherit his father's company and expand it into one of the world's largest producers of, you guessed it, fertilizer and building materials. He would then go on to invest and acquire various assets, including a large portion of Adidas. He is estimated to be worth $9 billion and is the richest Egyptian alive currently. Wes Edens is an American businessman who made his money on Wall Street. He started working with Lehman Brothers and eventually made partner and eventually was managing director. He then went on to BlackRock, you know, the infamous private equity firm that has bought up all the houses in America so that no one can afford them. Yeah, he worked for them. He then leaves BlackRock and forms his own company, Fortress, which is a private equity and investment firm that specializes in purchasing distressed assets and flipping them. He was pretty good at it because Fortress was acquired by SoftBank in 2017 for $3.3 billion. Wes's estimated worth of $4 to $5 billion. He's also the co-owner of the Milwaukee Bucks. In 2018, Nassef and Edens purchased Aston Villa for around $80 million, and their combined net worth is around $14 billion. Next up, we have Manchester United, and their owners are the Glazer family. They made their fortune primarily through real estate, investments, and sports ownership, but I've spoken in length about them in a previous video, link up here. So let's go more into depth into their new partial owner, Sir Jim Ratcliffe. So how did he get rich? Well, I'll let him explain it in his own words. Quote, I buy businesses that are broken, then I fix them. I hope he can do the same for Manchester United, please, please. Born in Greater Manchester, he cut his teeth working as a chemical engineer for oil giants BP. Yes, that BP. Oh yeah, and he also worked for ExxonMobil. He would then go ahead and take his expertise on chemicals and oil and found his own group, the INEOS Group. His specialty was buying undervalued and unwanted assets from companies like BP and ExxonMobil and making them profitable again. He was able to turn around these distressed assets by ruthlessly cost-cutting, often reducing workforces. Sound familiar? He also, had full control of the supply chain and would oftentimes astutely play the market when chemical and petrol prices would fluctuate. Through his savvy dealings in oils and chemicals, he was able to grow INEOS into a company that generates over $65 billion in annual income. In 2018, he was named the UK's richest man, with recent estimates putting his net worth anywhere from the $30 to $37 billion range. He's also said that he plans to take over complete control of Manchester United by 2026. So if this man can't turn around Manchester United, I don't know who can. And in second place of the richest owners in the Premier League, you probably guessed it, it's Manchester City. Man City is owned by the City Football Group, the majority shareholder being Sheikh Mansour. Mansour is a member of the Abu Dhabi royal family and is the deputy prime minister of the UAE. They made their money through oil. I don't know what else you want me to say. Oil's very profitable. Mansour himself is estimated to be worth anywhere from $25 to $30 billion. But I push him higher on this list than Jim Ratcliffe because he's in charge of managing the Mubadala Investment Company, which is the sovereign wealth fund of the UAE. What's a sovereign wealth fund? It's basically an investment company for a lot of these oil-rich countries to invest their oil profits into other assets that aren't oil. They do this in order to protect themselves against futures in which they run out of oil or oil becomes a lot less profitable. He purchased Man City in 2008 for $210 million and has since invested over £1 billion into the club, rapidly turning them into one of the most dominant teams that the Premier League has ever seen, that England has ever seen. Oh, and that sovereign wealth fund that he's in charge of, they apparently control over $280 billion in assets. So yeah, that's why I put him above Ratcliffe. And coming in at number one, yeah, you guessed it, it's Newcastle United and the Saudis. Yep, Newcastle United was recently bought by the Public Investment Fund, aka the PIF, of Saudi Arabia, which is effectively ran by MBS, aka Mohammed bin Salman, the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia. Sounds pretty dope. And yeah, he's the current ruler of Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia is the largest exporter of oil in the world right now. So you know, no biggie. They just have 200 billion in annual profit from it, and the Saudi royal family controls the profits of said oil. They created the PIF, much like the UAE, to decrease their country's dependency on just purely oil. And in October of 2021, the PIF purchased Newcastle United for £305 million. The PIF has an estimate of over $500 billion worth of assets, making it one of the largest sovereign wealth funds in the world. And that's not enough for the PIF, even though they control over $500 billion worth of assets. They plan to double it by 2030. To give you a reference of how much money this is, you know Smaug from Lord of the Rings? The dragon that literally sleeps on a mountain of gold? Yes, Benedict Cumberbatch over here is canonically the richest character in all of fiction. And the literal mountain of gold that he sits on, adjusted for today's market, would probably be worth around $50 billion. The sovereign wealth fund that MBS controls is 10 times, 10 fucking mountains worth of Smaug gold. And he used a pure fraction of this to purchase Newcastle United. That's how fucking rich these guys are. And no one actually knows the exact worth of Mohammed bin Salman, but it's believed that he actually controls trillions. Yes, this is the first mention of trillions on this video, but apparently he controls trillions in assets. Now, obviously, MBS is a little bit of a controversial figure, but you're not going to hear me talk about any of that stuff because we know what happens to people who criticize MBS, and I don't want to end up in a suitcase. So with that, we're going to end this video. If you did enjoy, go ahead, smush and dip on the like button. Helps me in this godforsaken algorithm. And of course, thank you to all my patrons keeping me alive and well. Big shout outs to all the members of the GO tier. We got Robert Matai, Elm, Peter Barr, Nyanya Bar, Kyle Stockton, Michael Sense, Isaac Martinez Duran, Higham, Miles Baird, Anders Piddlesmith, the Fat Austrian, Valente Vasquez, Movadoc, and of course, the one and only double GOAT, Sandra Jeremy. Love you guys all. Thank you to Alex for helping me out of this video. If you want to go ahead and hire him, his links are in the description down below. And yeah, I'll see you guys probably next week.